Blog Talk Radio.
The long, long search is ending now. So many of us waiting. We're finding our way home somehow. All the old ways are changing.
Welcome to Sing Your Heart Song Radio, a place where we exchange thoughts and provide tools that can help us to consciously evolve as an individual and creative being, facilitating the process of change and conscious evolution. So today, to help us work through this kind of awareness theme, we have Professor Johanna Sophia on the line. I met Professor Johanna Sophia about 25 years ago, and throughout all these years, she has never ceased to amaze me with her adaptability to always new arising challenges. I mean, just to a few quick things that come to mind. She packed up from 1 month to the next to take a study trip with her 2 children to Africa. She did a road trip across the United States, visiting all different Waldorf schools. And when I first met her, I was very, very drawn to her way of preparing food and her instinctual awareness in regard to that. So Professor Johanna Sophia created SILC, SILC, a learning environment for all things sustainable. It's a Waldorf School initiative, a green bed and breakfast facility. She offers informal tutoring on lifestyle changes, green building, consciousness. In other words, seminars of all things eco, and university-level research projects exploring earth-friendly high-tech options. She also has a media film school, nature walks are offered, and so on. We will be finding out more about SILC as we go along. But Johanna, these are very transformational times that we are living in, and many people are being called to make changes in their lives. What do you think of these times in regard to being aware?
As you just said so eloquently, Val, awareness is the basis for understanding where we are and enjoying the moment. And out of this ability to be aware and enjoy the moment, we derive the strength to make changes. I don't believe that we can make changes as easily when we are afraid and unaware and are fearful. So awareness allows for joy, and joy allows for proactive changes, not reactive changes in our lives. And yes, I agree with you. The world is in so much not necessarily turmoil as we see it around us, but in so much of a predicament with global warming and the end of oil looming over us and pollution rising to levels that cause enormous amounts of suffering among people with all sorts of diseases that are entirely preventable or healable for that matter. But our awareness level has to rise to the occasion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read a very interesting article just in preparation of the show, and they did a study where volunteers, this is at the University College of London, in this study volunteers watched patterns of moving dots while having their brain scanned. And every once in a while, occasionally, a dot would appear out of step. And although there was always the same number of dots, the visual part of the subject's brain was more active when the dots broke in their step. So the brains were predicting what would happen next and having to work harder when their predictions failed. And when that happened, when by detecting a familiar pattern in its input, then the anticipation from past experience was usually which followed. But the more unexpected something was, the more conscious we would become. Isn't that an interesting thought? I mean, that seems to explain a lot about awareness. So in regard to our predicament in this world now, things seem to be out of dots, like out of beat. So it's a tremendous opportunity to grow in awareness.
Yeah, two things come
Don't you
to
think?
mind. Yes, very much so. And it's a wonderful little story that exemplifies how strongly we are patterned. And, of course, that goes for us humans as well. We are very strongly patterned. This is what we expect to be doing, one step before in front of the other and another one. And when we break that pattern, whether it is because we are forced to, because something happens from outside, and even more so when we want to make those changes, breaking that pattern, we realize for the first time that there even is this strong pattern and how strong it is. And that realization is the first awareness change, I think, when we're forced to realize, oops, something's out of line here. And yes, how does that apply to the ecological situation of the planet and the fact that it is going rapidly out of its regular step? And we're having 2010 being the highest temperature ever measured on average around the globe. And, yeah, and we're having to become aware that we can't go on like this.
Mm-hmm. So, Johanna, I'm sorry. You wanted to say something else?
Yeah, I was going to say the second part of that same coin is that the awareness of our patterns needs to lead us to understand that our brain is so strongly physically patterned that we almost have to take ourselves out of the thinking mode or out of the physical environment that we are in and plant ourselves somewhere else, at least temporarily. That's why I'm doing these retreats, or I'm dealing with youth who need to learn a different view on life, because our brains just are very resistant to repatterning with even the strongest of willpower, unless we physically put ourselves into a different situation where those influences become new ones and new guides and new physical repatterning happens.
Very good point, Johanna. Yes, and we are dealing here with an awareness where the focus is on the spleen, which has to do with our body consciousness, our health, our preservation, our preservation, I'm sorry. And so it is very basic stuff. We are talking about almost archetype to all people to make changes that, because I find it sometimes amazing how children, let's say they grow up in a city dwelling and don't have an area of experiences in contact with nature. They often don't know exactly where an apple comes from. Yes, you go to the store and buy it, but there is such a disassociation from the rhythm and the flow of life that awareness is theoretical often.
Yes, and
you think
even
so?
Children, absolutely, totally, because we humans, is my understanding, contrary to animal groups, carry less natural instincts that tell us what to do, because we are able to be aware, we are able to be conscious of, and we are able to have that moment of free will where we can say, no, I want to do this differently. And therefore, we also are born with much less skill and ability. We are not born with the ability to speak or to sing. The only abilities we bring with us, interestingly, I just recently learned, is to laugh, which also sets us apart from animals in so many ways. But yes, we have to work for everything. So we have to learn the patterning, and it happens, and then we have to unlearn the patterning that we have learned in order to allow for changes. And the first step toward that is always awareness of that it's even there.
So, Johanna, at your Silk Learning Center, you offer informal tutoring on lifestyle changes, also consciousness and all things around sustainable living. How do you go about that, and how does that play out? Like, let's say, give me an example of like 2 different settings, how you're doing that. Like, if I would be interested in coming and doing that, like, where would you start?
Okay, let me first say what SILK stands for is actually very simply Sophia's International Learning Center, and it just turns out to be the same sounding word as silk, the material, which of course I love and which you're so familiar with from silk painting.
Yes.
But the last letter is changed to a C, and it stands for Sophia's International Learning Center. The concept being that as an omni-aware person of our time, I think we need to include awareness of all sectors of life. But very practically now, when somebody comes to me and says, I need to get a new start on life, or I don't know what I really want with my profession, then the first thing to do is that unpatterning to a certain extent, or living a different rhythm. That's why it is very, very helpful to give oneself a little bit of time. Yes, I can hold lectures, and many, many of my peers and your peers of lifestyle change lecturers will tell you the same statistics. If somebody hears a lecture even many times over and over, the crowd will only at 5% pick up any of what you were telling, even though they paid maybe to come to the lecture and they already know they want to do that, but they will not make those changes in their own life when they just hear the information. To implement a life change is easiest when you are taken out of your patterning, put into a different patterning. And it starts at Sophia Center, it starts simply with we change our diet. We eat mostly vegan. We prepare different kinds of food. I prepare raw food, especially for healing situations where people have more of a need to heal themselves. Let's take an example. A few years ago, I had a young lady who also appears in my book, Once Around the USA, that covers the journey that you were talking about in the beginning of the show that I took with my children and these 2 exchange students. This young woman of 19 years old had been severely anorexic and had skin problems, and severely anorexic for 5 years. So she started as a young girl, which most of the time is the case, to not eat and then binge sometimes and starve herself and then eat just sugar stuff. And smoke and live on coffee with a lot of sugar and or sweeteners, which of course is worse than sugar. And so her whole life was very strongly patterned in these needs. And when I spoke to her about these things, she perceived herself as being addicted to hunger and addicted to that feeling of hunger. And to repattern all of that, it had to be kind of radical to a certain extent. No, at my house you cannot smoke, and you will have to get on the next plane and go home if you really are not up to this. And so we have to break those patterns sometimes radically, but put other pleasant things there. She was particularly talented in decorating interiors, so I let her redecorate my entire interior. And she loved it, and she got the job done, and she could have something that she felt great about. And then she started making foods that she had never done before. But first, we would look at, this is a very individually adaptable process of helping people, because you look at where their strengths are, because the first thing you want to give somebody is a sense of success and a sense of importance to an environment. So in this particular case, every guest that comes into the house says, "Oh my God, this looks so pretty. Who did this for you?" And it's Lena. And Lena did this. And so she has a success experience, and she is in an environment in which she eats differently, she sleeps differently, she uses different products. She was not allowed to use her chemical makeup products that she used to use, etc., because, of course, all those can be detrimental to the healing process. So, yeah, we try to break the pattern, but at the same time find something that the person or the children or the whole class really enjoys and can have success at.
Beautiful. Johanna, I really like the thought that when something is unexpected, or the more something is out of step, the more conscious we become, actually, because we become more alert. Our system kicks into gear. So I wanted to ask you, I'm just curious, did you find when you were traveling, I mean, you always have all those unexpected things popping up here and there and everywhere. Do you find that you are in a much more aware state when you're traveling, like on the trip across America, than when you would be just home in your everyday setting?
Yes. And that is, of course, in my case, it's a bit of a personality trait. I love traveling, always have from when I was a child. But absolutely. And this awareness, interestingly, I had never thought of it in this exact manner, but what I was saying earlier, awareness leads to the ability of joy, leads to the ability of taste. That's exactly what always happens. As soon as I get on a train, a bus, or the backpack on my back and hiking or mountain climbing or driving, as soon as I'm on the go, this hyper-awareness and this elation overcomes me. Now, of course, that is only possible because there's another trait in me that I am able to instill in many younger and not so young people, namely to lose fear. As long as there's fear, you cannot get from awareness to elation. You get from awareness to anticipation of things that will go wrong. And that, of course, would be very counterproductive. So you need to learn to not fear. Now, some of that can be done by logic, because there's no reason on earth why we should fear anything or anybody, because it cannot help. The fight or flight theory is, in my mind, entirely obsolete. I have to tell you this, all you listeners. We watched last night, because my children wanted me to watch, How to Train Your Dragon. And it is exactly about that. Of course, it's all in fantasy land, kind of. But this one child decides he does not want to kill the dragon like everybody else is killing these dragons, and they're the biggest enemies. He makes friends with the dragon. And, of course, that empowers him and leads to a completely new culture, ultimately, in this little animated movie called How to Train Your Dragon. Wonderful analogy, wonderful symbolic story of exactly that, overcoming that fear, realizing that fear has never helped anybody. But trust, love, and what's the word? And vision of a better world and the love together, and awareness of the fact that, of course, the animal has no innate desire to kill you either. So, yeah, fear is not allowed to destroy that process of awareness, joy, change. It prohibits it.
Now, it's prohibited. Now, in the let's say when we are traveling, everything is kicked into gear, and our awareness is so much more alert. But when we are in our everyday lives, would you walk us a little bit through a mundane day of awareness in your life? Like, I don't know, maybe today.
Oh, today is one of the Sophia family's crazy days, but maybe it's just as well. Today, we woke up.
But you know what? Ever since I've known you, that's always the most fascinating things. I mean, back and the whole car full of people, and you got to be there and there and there, but wherever you are there.
Yes, very much so. And like you said in the beginning of the show, being in the moment and where you are and not allowing the stress of doing so many things as I do in my life to take that away from you, the joy of that moment. And when there are many moments that you need to master and you are late or you're missing one of the moments entirely, even though they were on your schedule, do not allow that to destroy the joy of the rest. It will sort itself out if you are in a positive mindset. And, of course, it sounds very cliche. It's all that positive thinking and so forth, but it does work that way. And
like, for example, at this moment in time, you're sitting someplace next to a highway having this conversation about awareness with me.
Yes.
And you're very well aware of your surroundings, right?
Yes.
And you still have the sun shining on you?
I still have the sun shining right into my face. Actually, I'm shading it just so my eyes don't get too blinded, but yes, and I am enjoying the glistening of the sunshine on the markings on the road, and I'm enjoying the glistening on the electrical or telephone lines. And I was just, as I was talking about being in this moment, like you were saying in the morning, being aware of the water running, being aware of what it feels like on your skin, etc. Allowing for all those awarenesses makes life so full and so...
And alive.
Yes, incredibly alive and joyful. Yeah, I may be talking a little bit too much about joy here, right? But I
think that's one of the side effects of awareness. I have to bring this little story in. 2 years ago, or maybe it's 3 years ago now, there was a litter of cats in the back of the garage by us. And I just knew that the female cat had been pregnant, and then I've seen her, and she was not pregnant anymore. But I didn't see any sign of the kittens. So one day I'm driving home, and I pull into the driveway, and there is the cat and one little black, tiny, tiny little kitten. And it ran right away. So I went over to the mommy cat and I said, "Oh, you had your babies. You're going to show me the babies?" And I went into the house, got the camera, walked out. You wouldn't believe it. And I have this picture as proof. She had all 6 kittens sit up for me almost like in a pose. And on the picture, you can still see her tail as she walked out of the picture. I mean, it was just such a moment in awareness with such a treasure of a gift. You know what I mean?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that same understanding between human and animal, that actually is, the animal is grateful for your awareness and wants to please you. Same in this movie that we saw last night, but that is so true. And we are in this age now, or moving into this age, where that kind of communication has to override all the hunting instincts and all the fears, and the this wolf is going to come and tear me to pieces overnight if I don't kill it first. That era, I feel, is coming to an end. And we're coming into an awareness era where we do not need that anymore, namely that whole fear and kill or be killed part of our concept.
And it's so
life.
amazing. It's so amazing. I'm sorry if I interrupted you. On YouTube, you find so many of the most incredible movies. Once between animals and people, and then between animals and different sort of animals, like a dog with an elephant. And I mean, the friendships and the bonding that goes on across board is seemingly something that, comes from a different sort of an awareness.
Yeah.
So endearing.
Yes.
So, Johanna, what makes your heart sing these days?
What makes my heart sing? Sitting here and talking to Val and having a wonderful
Thank you.
understanding of this joy that is life. And yes, I didn't get to describe my day today. It was at our house, getting up at 7:00. The kids were tired because we had just gotten to the house late in the evening. Packing our things that needed to come to the apartment in another city where we're staying so the kids can go to school there. Packing the things into the car, driving an hour to their music lessons. They have wonderful music lessons in cello and violin. Having them have their music lessons, then driving back so that my son in a different city can participate in his rock ensemble and his other orchestra, and my daughter can join her cello string ensemble. So, and here I am going back to receive guests at my center tomorrow and getting everything ready. So I'm traveling back to the house to get everything ready for guests at Sophia's center at Silk. So yeah, that is a day, and yes, I spend a lot of time in the car, but I'm actually enjoying it.
Johanna, if anyone desires to get in contact with your teachings, how do they go about that? Do you have a website?
Yeah, there are various ways of finding me. The website is, of course, www.sophiacenter.com. Don't forget the S in the middle between Sophia and Center, sophiacenter.com. But you can also just Google Prof. Johanna Sophia. Will find all sorts of sites and answers and articles I have written recently. For example, the latest article I wrote was on conscious giving for the holiday season. Those are the... Because
even in those kind of things, when you bring a certain awareness to the table in regard to the gifts, it can be so much more joyful if we say that joy is one of the side effects of awareness.
Right. And again, it's also the first step to change. In this particular article, I describe that our understanding of gift giving needs to expand to gifts beyond the material wrapped new scarf or things that we, tangible things. And I extend the idea to giving joy to other people or giving healing processes to other people. And I decided last summer with yet another young lady who came, but don't get the impression that only young women or girls come. We've had bunches of boys, too, with all sorts of problems that needed to be overcome. Yeah, and in this case, I needed to make her more aware of all the things she was getting. And so I wrote on little slips of paper, learning to heal myself, taking responsibility for my beauty, etc. And I wrapped these pieces of paper into little like candy wrappers, but larger, of course, and made a whole pile of them, and she unwrapped them and read every single one of them out to make her more aware of what she needed to take charge of her own beauty, her health, etc. And she was so moved that, you know, she sat there with tears, and then she added, yes, I can, or hooray, or something like that, to the opening of those candy wrappers with these awareness slips in them. So, yeah.
Yeah, because becoming aware means...
Yes.
Yeah, gift giving is one of those places where when we become aware, it means we are paying attention in that moment, and that paying attention comes across as reflecting care to the person that's on the receiving end. So being aware means being conscious, and being conscious in the moment where the seed of co-creation, conscious co-creation, finds its place in the time and space realm. And the other person will feel it if something has been prepared with care. Don't you think so?
Oh, yes. And exactly what you're just describing, that awareness process, that conscious receiving, also leads to, there's another concept that we haven't addressed yet, leads to the ability to take responsibility. If we're not aware of what we're doing, we are held responsible often because we do all sorts of nonsense, but we can't really be responsible for our actions if we're not first aware.
Yes. So it is time to ask myself, in this time and space moment, what seed am I planting? Am I coming from awareness, or am I just reacting to any given situation or circumstance? So again, here we have intention and resolution that will bring us closer to an evolving choice, where we have choice, where we not just think that we have choice, but where we come from a place of choice. So, Johanna, would you give us closing something for awareness? And would you like to say goodbye to our listeners then?
Yes, I certainly like to. I don't know whether I will be adequate, but I will try. For me, awareness means full use of senses, of all our senses, and allowing those things perceived by our senses to come to our brain and create gratefulness for what is there, create awareness, create, what did you use?
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement of the world out there and of our particular life, of what is happening in our own life and the world around us, or as we relate to the world around us. So that being the very first step, it allows the world into our life and allows us to really participate in the life at large. So awareness is the crucial element via our senses and via our brain capturing and loving what we see and feel and hear and do. Even the painful moments can be loved, and therefore we become really participants in this life process on this particular planet that I love so much that I embrace it every morning in my mind.
Johanna, thank you for joining me. I'm going to let you keep on driving now. Yes, it was a pleasure. I don't know if you want to continue staying on the line while I close, but if you like to continue with your trip, please do, okay?
Thank you, Val. Wonderful show.
Thank you. Music clip is by Angelica. That's www.angelicahealingmusic.com. And it's Into Grace, track 7. Enjoy, and please let your heart sing. Until next time, Ciao, love, Val. I will be playing the full version of Tide of Grace.
Flames glow